Well, around 1995, you were around 7 years old. Your mom got indicted with 2 tons of
Cocaine.
cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know whether it was cocaine
Oh
or
yeah,
weed.
yeah. It was too kind.
2 tons of cocaine.
Yeah. So my stepfather, I'ma be brief, but it don't matter. My stepfather was like a kingpin. He already was in prison at that time. I think he left 89 or 90. And they hit my mom and him for running a crime or criminal organization from behind the wall. And I guess the driver had got hit on the way out there to go see them. My mom, I guess she was running the operation on the street. And not I guess, my mom was running the operation. It's all documented. I just be feeling like I'm telling when I say shit like that. But she was running the operation on the street, and the driver gets hit on the way out there and tells on everybody that works for the cartel instead of telling on the cartel. So ends up getting my mom in the mix. Oh, it was out of Detroit. My bad for they were headed to Detroit. Her indictment's out of Detroit. Yeah, the truck had 2 tons on it.
I mean, if
So
you're
that's
talking about
1,000 kilos.
Yeah, well, 1 ton is 2,000 pounds.
Yeah, so every kilo is like 2 pounds and a quarter.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're talking about Detroit, you're probably talking about BMF or someone affiliated with that.
So they're the wave right before BMF, but the
okay.
people that the young Meaches and all that were copping from, they definitely have.
Got it.
Yeah, they're definitely like entangled somehow.
And that's how you ultimately get the name Bricc Baby later on, because the mixtape you first dropped was Son of Bricc Lady.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So, moving on, like 16, 17, my hood name, it's a phrase in the hood that stay down shitty. Like, oh, yeah, he stayed down shitty. You know what I mean? So, like, when I was 17, I changed my name to Shitty. Like Shitty Cuz.
Okay. So why the name Shitty? I've always wondered.
Yeah, that's what I'm giving you the rundown right now.
I mean, because to call yourself Shitty,
so
there's got to be a meaning.
Yeah, so at the time, like staying down shitty was like dope. Like, oh yeah, he stayed shitty, he didn't tell. Or he stayed down shitty, he got a squabble on him, he stayed down shitty. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, he's shitty with the pistol. Like, that was just like a word we was using in the area, like in like 03. So my big homie, okay, Eric had got put on. And I was just giving you this to tell you how I got the Bricc Baby. We'll get into that later.
Right. Eric is Eric
Holder. Yeah. So right. Eric came to get put on. I met them. I see them little dudes on Slauson one day, and I'm like, what's up with you little niggas? And I start having them kick it with me probably for like 2 months or whatever. So it come around like, come on, we going down to the school, it's starting to get put on, whatever the case was. So that day he got put on, we came up with the Shitty name. That was like a name that was really made for him. But he can't come in and be Big Shitty. So me and my big homie, that's, you know what I'm saying, that's Big Shitty, and I'm Little Shitty, like, you gonna be Baby Shitty. No, matter of fact, it was Rag. I was Baby Shitty at first. And he was Tiny Shitty. And then the two homies that was the same age, they was like, man, I ain't gonna be your little homie, we brothers, whatever. So we bumped it up. All right, so I inherit the name Shitty. Now I'm rapping and shit, and when it comes to me and Kid Ink putting out our first single together,
Kid Ink's your cousin, by the way.
Yeah, my cousin.
Right.
So Kid Ink's my cousin. Ill Will was the manager at the time, and he hit me. He hit my manager, Danny, and he's like, hey, you think that they're not saying that Shitro is not radio friendly? Because I took the Shitty. At first I was Shitty Montana, then I was MPA Shitro. I started, well, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
But I was MPA Shitro, and they was like, well, everybody know it stands for Shitty. I'm like, well, the world doesn't know that Shitro means shitty. And then they was like, you should just change it for the radio. I don't think you should go with Shitty. So I was like, Bricc Baby Shitro. And the reason why I came up with Bricc Baby was because I had an upbringing of my parents moving bricks and stuff, and my first mixtape was Son of a Brick Lady. So I was like, and I already had the Bricc Baby tatted before I changed my name, so I'm like, Bricc Baby.
I mean, if your mom was caught as part of a conspiracy with 2 tons of cocaine, what ultimately happened to her?
Okay, so my mom, they started off, her mandatory minimum was like somewhere in like the 20, 30-year range.
Damn.
Yeah. So they fought from like 95 all the way until it was like 4 years they was fighting, because I remember her going back and forth saying she was going to court for a property. She never told me what it was for. You know what I'm saying? I guess they was suing over one of her properties in Detroit. And she told, well, basically what happens is, you know, it starts going down. That's to scare you. So it starts getting knocked down. And just the cartel started telling on everybody around to where they ended up figuring out that they were putting a heavier position on the lower levels, even though they still had 2 tons and a gang of money when they raided. Like, I got a story later on.
How much money along with the 2 tons?
I would have to go look, because I don't want to quote it, but it was a couple million. I got kicked out of the house.
Couple of $1 million.
Yeah, for sure. For
Damn.
sure. I got kicked out of the house in Detroit when I was in the 1st grade, or it might have been kindergarten, because me and my sister, she's like 7 years older than me, and the neighbors and stuff, we was playing hide and go seek, and we was in the basement of our house down there. We had a little casino down there, and we found like some money that was saran wrap like that. It looked like that.
Yeah.
And it was in black saran wrap. We ended up ripping the saran wrap open, and it was money. We just throwing the money all through the basement. My mom told us it took her 3 days to count that money. It was like 2.6 million we threw around the house. Like, we didn't even get to the bottom of it. We were taking the bands off and just throwing it everywhere. And I got my ass beat probably for like every time she drunk some water and got back to it, like she was on my ass about that. But she moved that night, and she sent us back to LA within like a week's time, because the neighbor, the neighbor's dad was like a D-boy robber, but he didn't know that my mom was hustling. But we used to play with each other, so she was like, when we got older, she was like, the reason why we left that fast was because if the dude across the street would have found out I had all this money in the house, I'm over here by myself with y'all, he would have put together a crew and kicked the door. So I had to count all that money again by myself. Mind you, she had helping hands at first. She's like, I counted all the money by myself, put it all together, put it in moving boxes, like we was just moved out. And then we was at like a Residence Inn for a second, like, you know, the Marriott Courtyard. Yeah, so we were right there, and they sent me back to LA.
Can you say the name of your stepdad that was really the kingpin of all this?
Oh, yeah, Kevin Moore.
Kevin Moore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Harry O, all the originals, the original Rick Rosses and all that, they all in alliance with each other. They know each other very well.
Yeah, I actually looked it up. There's a bunch of articles about him.
Yeah. Oh, because I know a lot of articles pop up because his dad was like, is that what popped up? Maurice Moore, the officer.
There's just a bunch of...
When Chief Parks was trying to go back for police chief again, his dad was the officer right up under him. And they put out a big article about my mom's case and my steppop's case, because they didn't want Chief Parks to be like reelected as the chief again. So he's like, yeah, Maurice Moore, da-da-da-da. It was a big thing for a second.